He thinks you've been defeated, doesn't he? In his mind, he's the conqueror who shattered your spirit so completely that you could never piece yourself back together. He imagines you trapped in despair, clinging to memories of what was lost, unable to move beyond the void he left behind. To him, this is victory. The belief that you've become a shadow of the person you once were, tethered to the pain of his absence. But what he doesn't understand, what he could never comprehend, is that this isn't the end of your story. It's the beginning. He didn't destroy you. He woke you up. The same betrayal he thought would break you has become the fire that purifies, refining you into something he never imagined. A person who no longer tolerates mediocrity, disrespect, or neglect, whose value is no longer up for debate. In Stoicism, there's a principle called amor fati, the love of fate. It teaches that even the worst experiences in life can become tools for growth if you let them. And that's precisely what you've done. You've taken his indifference, betrayal, and cruelty and turned them into the bricks with which you'll build the foundation of your transformation. He thought he was writing the final chapter of your story, but in truth, he's only written the preface. Let him think he's won for now. Let him revel in the illusion of your defeat. What he cannot see and will never be prepared for is the person you're becoming. You're no longer broken. You're building. Every sleepless night, every tear, and every pang of heartbreak has become fuel for the most profound evolution of your life. This isn't revenge, it's rebirth. Because here's the truth. The one who truly wins is not the person who walks away from the ashes of a relationship unscathed. It's the one who rises from those ashes stronger, wiser, and untouchable. You are not defined by the pain he caused. You are determined by how you choose to respond to it. So, as he continues, blissfully unaware of the storm brewing behind your calm exterior, remind yourself of this. His rejection doesn't diminish your value. It amplifies your resilience. He believed he was leaving behind someone weak, dependent on his presence to feel whole. But what he's left behind is a powerful force that will rewrite his self-perception narrative. And when the time comes, when he finally looks back and sees not the broken figure he imagined, but the unshakable presence of someone who has risen beyond his reach, he will realize the magnitude of his loss. But by then, you'll be so far ahead, so untouchable in your power, that his regret will be nothing more than a whisper in the background of your triumph. This is your beginning. This is your rebirth. The philosophy of Stoicism doesn't just teach us to endure pain. It teaches us to harness it. So let this pain become your teacher, architect, and ally. Rise from the ashes. Build the life you were always meant to have. Let the world see, and let him wonder. Reverse Psychology Hack 1. Kill the desperation. He believes he holds the power, doesn't he? In his mind, you are still tethered to the version of yourself that begged for his attention, clung to his every word, and sacrificed your peace for his validation. He is convinced that your world has stopped spinning, frozen in time, waiting for him to return and rescue you from your pain. To him, your silence is temporary, your heartbreak eternal, and your self-worth non-existent without his approval. But the truth he has yet to realize is this: desperation no longer defines you. In the ancient teachings of Stoicism, one of the key principles is control over your perceptions. Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. It's not his actions or indifference that bind you. It's the meaning you attach to them. The moment you shift your perspective is the moment you reclaim your power. Desperation is the fuel that feeds his ego, the thread that keeps you tied to his narrative. Every time you text, call, or seek closure, you affirm the story he tells himself, that you cannot live without him, that he is the center of your universe. But desperation is not your truth. It is a habit born of emotional attachment. And habits, no matter how deeply ingrained, can be broken. The first step is silence. Silence is not born of anger or revenge. Silence is an act of self-respect. By choosing not to reach out, you disrupt the cycle. You force him to sit with the absence of your energy, your love, and your presence. At first, he may shrug it off, telling himself you'll return, as you always have. But as the hours turn into days and the days into weeks, something shifts. The comfort he once took for granted becomes a void he cannot ignore. This isn't about punishing him. It's about liberating yourself. When you stop chasing, you create space for your growth. That space allows you to see the truth. His failure to value you does not diminish your worth. His inability to meet your needs does not reflect your inadequacy. By killing the desperation, you kill the illusion that controls you. Imagine the shift. He checks his phone, expecting to see your name. Nothing. He scrolls through social media, hoping for a sign of heartbreak in your posts. Instead, he finds nothing but silence. Slowly, the weight of your absence begins to press on him. Not because you've sought revenge, but because you've reclaimed what was always yours, your energy, focus, and strength. And as he begins to realize the gravity of his loss, you are already building. You are already transforming. Every tear he once caused has become fuel. Every sleepless night has become apparent. And every ounce of pain he thought would shatter you has become the foundation of the emerging, unshakable version of yourself. You are not desperate. You are deliberate. And every moment you choose silence over overreaction, growth over grief, you are proving to yourself and him that you are no longer the person he thought he could break. This is the power of Stoicism. To transform what was meant to destroy you into the very thing that sets you free. Reverse psychology hack 2. Show him you are thriving. He imagines you shattered, doesn't he? In his mind, you're stuck in the wreckage he left behind, picking up the pieces of a life that can no longer function without him. He envisions you surrounded by the weight of his absence, drowning in regret and incapable of moving forward. But what he cannot comprehend, what he will never expect, is the brilliance of your transformation. In the philosophy of Stoicism, thriving is not about proving something to someone else. It's about aligning with your highest self. Seneca once wrote, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it." And wasting time on someone who dismissed your value, that is no longer an option. Instead, you channel that energy into building a life so extraordinary and radiant that it speaks for itself. Your thriving begins with reclaiming your power, not through words or petty games, but through action. Start by investing in yourself. What dreams have you postponed? What passions have you buried beneath the weight of his indifference? Bring them to the surface. Take that trip you always dreamed of but never planned. Enroll in the class you kept putting off. Start the side hustle you've always wanted to explore. Each step forward is a declaration. I am not defined by the love he withheld. I am represented by the love I give to myself. And as you grow, your transformation becomes undeniable. Your presence changes. The way you carry yourself radiates confidence, self-respect, and resilience. It's not about creating an illusion or putting on a performance. It's about becoming authentically aligned with the version of you that his neglect could never touch. The message will ripple outward when others see you smiling, thriving, and reclaiming your job. Imagine his perspective. He checks his phone, scrolling through updates, expecting to find vague posts of sadness or longing. Instead, he sees something else entirely. Photos of you glowing confidently, surrounded by people who celebrate your growth. Stories of your accomplishments, your travels, your victories. Each image, update, and reflects a progressing and flourishing life. But this is not about revenge, it's about freedom. You're not thriving to make him regret what he lost. You're thriving because it is your natural state. You are not broken. You are whole, and every step you take toward living fully reminds you of this truth. The greatest irony of all? His regret will be the byproduct of your happiness, not the goal. As you create a life filled with purpose and joy, he will be left to confront the void he created. The woman he thought would crumble has become unshakable, and that realization will weigh on him far more than anything you could ever say or do. In the end, thriving is not about him but about you. It is about reclaiming your time, energy, and sense of self. And as you rise higher, remember, this journey is not revenge but transformation. You are becoming more assertive, wiser, and freer than ever imagined. And that, in itself, is the ultimate triumph. Reverse Psychology Hack 3. Dress well, sound well. He remembers you as the version of yourself he left behind, timid, uncertain, and weighed down by heartbreak. In his mind, you're still sitting there, wrapped in the comfort of self-doubt, waiting for validation that will never come. But what he doesn't see, what he will never anticipate, is the transformation within you. The Stoics understood that outward appearances often mirror internal realities. Epictetus once said, "Know who you are, and then adorn yourself accordingly." This is not about vanity or superficial change. It's about presenting yourself to the world in a way that reflects the strength, clarity, and confidence you are cultivating within. Start with how you dress, not for him or anyone else, but for yourself. Let your wardrobe become a statement of your resilience and self-respect. Choose pieces that fit you like armor, empowering you to step into every room purposefully. Wear colors that amplify your presence and styles that remind you of your worth every time you look in the mirror. It's not about trying to catch his eye. It's about reclaiming the narrative of how you see yourself. But transformation doesn't stop with appearance. Your voice, words, and demeanor hold just as much power. In the past, your tone may have wavered, your words filled with uncertainty or over-explanations meant to win his approval. Not anymore. From this moment forward, you speak with clarity and purpose, each word chosen intentionally. Imagine the next time he hears you, whether through mutual friends, in a chance encounter, or even secondhand. He expects the same voice, the same uncertainty. Instead, he hears confidence. Your words carry weight, your tone is calm, and your presence commands attention without trying. This, too, is a form of power, the ability to communicate your value without ever needing to explain it. Now, picture the effect this has on him. He doesn't recognize you. The woman he thought he left behind no longer exists. In her place stands someone who is unshakable, poised, and radiating a strength that doesn't need his validation. The contrast will haunt him, not because you're trying to provoke regret, but because your transformation forces him to confront the truth. He underestimated you. This is not a game of appearances. It's about embodying the life you're building, a life defined by resilience, growth, and purpose. Whenever you dress and speak well, you reinforce a message to yourself and the world. I am not the woman he walked away from. I am the queen he could never fully see. This transformation isn't just for the moments he might see you. It's for every moment you wake up, look in the mirror, and see the reflection of someone who refuses to be defined by another's rejection. Dress well, sound well, and walk through life with the confidence of someone who knows her worth. Because in the end, this journey is about you, not him. And when he finally realizes what he's lost, you'll already live the life you were always meant to have. Reverse Psychology Hack 4. The Reverse Chase. He is comfortable right now, isn't he? In his mind, he is untouchable, secure in the belief that you'll eventually return. He expects you to fold under the weight of your emotions, reach out, and chase him again. This is his game. A waiting game where he assumes your desperation will eventually lead you back to him. But he doesn't realize that the rules have changed this time. The Stoics teach us about reclaiming control over our actions and emotions, And this is where the reverse chase begins. Instead of running toward him, you pull back, completely, unapologetically, and with a quiet determination that speaks louder than any words ever could. By stepping away, you force him into a reality he has never had to face, a world where he is no longer the center of your attention. Imagine the silence that greets him when he checks his phone, expecting to see your name. Days pass, and no text, call, or post is laced with veiled sorrow. At first, he brushes it off, dismissing your absence as temporary. But as the days turn into weeks, the silence grows louder. It becomes a void that he cannot ignore, a mirror reflecting the emptiness he created. This is the power of the reverse chase. The more space you create, the more he is forced to confront his ego. Without your energy feeding his sense of control, he begins to unravel. The man who once felt like a king now feels the sting of irrelevance. He wonders if you've moved on, or if someone else has captured the attention you once freely gave him. That uncertainty eats away at his confidence, forcing him to question everything he assumed about you and himself. But here's the most important part. This isn't about manipulating him or playing games. It's about redirecting your energy toward yourself. The moment you stop chasing him is the moment you start running toward your growth. You focus on building the life you deserve, one filled with purpose, joy, and strength. You invest in yourself, not for his validation, but because you understand you are the prize. And as you thrive, the shift becomes undeniable. The life you create is so vibrant, so extraordinary, that it becomes impossible for him to ignore. He sees it in your confidence, your success, your glow. And while he wrestles with regret and confusion, you've already moved forward, untethered by his absence. The reverse chase is not about revenge, but reclaiming your power. It's about showing yourself that you don't need to chase anyone to prove your worth. Because the truth is, when you stop running toward him, you realize you've always had everything you needed within you. So let him wonder. Let him sit in silence. Let him feel the absence of your energy in his life. And as he begins to grasp the gravity of his loss, you'll be too far ahead, thriving in the life you've built without him. This is not about his regret. It's about your liberation. This is your time to rise, reclaim, and move forward with unwavering purpose. Reverse Psychology Hack 5. The Puppet Master. Right now, he thinks he's in control. He believes every move you make is a reaction to him. Your silence, sadness, and attempts to move on are, in his mind, tied to the strings he's pulling. He sees himself as the puppeteer, orchestrating your emotions, choices, and identity. But he doesn't know that the strings are already slipping from his grasp. And this time, when they snap, the game will change forever. In Stoicism, control begins with mastering your own emotions. Epictetus taught, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. This is where you reclaim your narrative. By mastering your emotions, you sever the ties that give him power over you. His words, actions, or absence will no longer dictate your state of mind. Instead, you become the one holding the strings, not over him, but over yourself. The first step to becoming the puppet master is simple but profound. Stop reacting. You reinforce his illusion of control whenever you respond in anger, sadness, or desperation. He thrives on knowing that he can still affect you, that his presence or absence occupies space in your mind. But when you stop reacting and choose calm over chaos and indifference over engagement, you dismantle his game piece by piece. Imagine this. He sends you a casual message, a simple "hey" meant to test the waters. He's not reaching out because he cares. He's fishing for a reaction. In the past, you might have jumped at the chance to respond, your emotions spilling into a text that gave him the validation he craved. But now, you let it sit unanswered. Hours turn into days, and the silence grows deafening. Not for you, but for him. And here's the beauty of this approach. While he's left wondering, overanalyzing, and spiraling, you're not just sitting idly by. You're building. You're thriving. Every moment you resist the urge to react is when you invest in yourself. Whether pouring your energy into a new passion, strengthening your body and mind, or cultivating relationships that uplift you, you're creating a life that no longer revolves around him. This shift is not about playing games. It's about reclaiming your autonomy. As he notices the absence of your reactions, he'll feel the weight of his choices. The silence forces him to confront the void he created and, more importantly, the person he took for granted. The version of you he once knew, the one who was predictable, pliable, and reactive, no longer exists. When he inevitably tries to re-enter your life, you remain calm, composed, and indifferent. Perhaps you respond politely but distantly, "I'm doing well, thanks," or maybe you say nothing at all. Either way, the message is clear. He no longer controls the narrative. You've taken back your power, not by manipulating him, but by mastering yourself. The Stoics believe that true freedom comes from within, from detaching yourself from the external and focusing on what you can control. This is your freedom. By refusing to play his game, you're not just pulling the strings, you're removing yourself from the stage entirely. And as he watches you rise, building a vibrant and extraordinary life that's anything he imagined, he'll realize the truth. He didn't just lose you. He lost the best thing he ever had. You are no one's puppet. You are the architect of your life, the author of your story. And as you step into this role fully, you'll find that the only power he ever had was the power you allowed him to hold. Now, that power belongs to you. So, let him wonder, regret, and sit in the silence you leave behind. Because the game is over, and you've already won. Conclusion. Here's the truth. This journey has never been about him. It's not about his regret, realization, or the void your absence creates in his life. This journey is about you, about rising above the ashes of heartbreak, reclaiming your power, and becoming the person you were always meant to be. The Stoics teach us that suffering is inevitable, but what defines us is how we respond to it. The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way, Marcus Aurelius said. And now, you stand at the threshold of a choice. Will you let this pain define you, or will you use it as the foundation of your transformation? You've already taken the first steps, choosing silence over desperation, growth over grief, and purpose over validation. Every action you take to rebuild yourself is a declaration of your strength, a reminder that your worth is not tied to anyone else's approval. And as you thrive and rise higher than you ever imagined, his presence or absence will fade into irrelevance. But this isn't the end of your journey. It's just the beginning. Your transformation isn't about proving anything to him or anyone else. It's about stepping into the fullness of your potential. Imagine the life you're creating, a life rooted in resilience, guided by clarity, and filled with joy that anyone's indifference can't shake. This is your time to shine, not because someone else failed to see your value, but because you've chosen to recognize it yourself. And as you move forward, let this be your mantra. I am unstoppable. I am unshakable. I am enough. Write it down, say it out loud, and carry it with you as a reminder that no rejection, no betrayal, no loss has the power to diminish you. If this message resonates with you and ignites a fire within you to embrace your power and rewrite your story, then take the next step. Join a community of like-minded individuals committed to growth, resilience, and transformation. Hit that subscribe button and be part of a space that empowers you to rise higher daily. Every week, we'll dive deeper into the wisdom of Stoicism, the art of personal development, and the philosophy of living a life of purpose and strength. Together, we'll continue to break free from the past, build lives we're proud of, and embody the unstoppable force that we are. You are not broken. You are becoming. And as you step into this new chapter, remember, the world hasn't seen your best yet. Keep thriving, keep rising, and let the brilliance of your transformation be the loudest message of all. Subscribe now, and let's continue this journey together.